Hello, this is the tradesight Stocks and Futures Market Preview and U.S. Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Monday, August 5th, 2013, ending Friday, August 9th. We're having a good trading week. Here's the charts based from eSignal as usual, eSignal 11. And here's a look at the S&P daily chart. And you can see this trend line that for months we had been following all the way up and finally broke it. Totally fascinating how we got back up and now can't get through it. But we are still heading up even under this circumstance. So the retest of the level is continuing. This might make the current seeker count interesting. We're 10 bars up. Actually, after today, this is 11 bars up if I go to projection mode after Friday's action. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get a seeker 13 sell signal under these conditions. Obviously, we shook off a couple of them back on the run up, but now that you're under the trend line, there could be very different results there. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ 100 as well. You know, new highs here for the week, and guess what? On the daily chart, boom. Okay, a 13 sell signal on the NDX right here on Friday. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually pans out. Remember, the NDX didn't have those signals along the way. Did have one on a fairly flat activity back in January. You can see that kind of caused us to flatten out even more for a bit in that very unusual period we saw. Boy, that was a horrible period back there for the indices in general, futures trading in specific, because of how flat that was. But here we got finally moved, and we got a clean 9-bar setup. We got a 13 seeker sell signal, and we're almost done with a new 9-bar setup. That usually would lead to a top, so we'll see what happens. Here's a look at the SOX. Not quite at new highs this week. Okay, here's a look at the biotechs. And just to put in for some of our key stocks, let's take a look at Google. Back over 900, still forming a nice cup and handle type of formation, holding up very strong. You'll notice that the 9-bar setup phase was sort of the low there, and we also pulled back and hit. This is amazing, right? Here's your 9-bar move up. The red line's the static trend line. Get a little rollover, that gets you right back to that static trend line. Then a 9-bar move down, that ends up being the low. Now we've got a new static trend line to watch up high. Let's look at Apple, another one that we trade a lot, finally recovering. Coming back to highs for the last several months. Could be very interesting to see what happens there. Here's Amazon. Been very strong recently, another stock we like to follow. Looks very good. We trade this one a lot. And Netflix, of course, been really flat lately in general. So let's take a look now at the intraday action from this last week in the futures, just so you understand what we saw. Basically, here's Monday's action was fairly contained. A little gap down that we did not fill initially. Tuesday we gapped up to fill Monday's gap and then rolled over and filled that gap. Both of those days were basically in about an 8-point range on the ES or the S&P 500, which is not very good. Wednesday we got a small gap up and much wider ranges for the day, but this was the Fed announcement. We also had first look at GDP on that session. So, you know, again, the Fed announcement caused things to be a little bit wilder. We ended up selling off late, which was kind of a surprise, and then gapped right up to the highs of that on Thursday and drifted a little higher. Thursday and Friday were horrible. Remember, Wednesday was also end-of-month window dressing. So what's interesting about that is if you look at where we closed on Sunday of last week, we really didn't make any progress or any ground at all. Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, even after the Fed net, we basically went nowhere. This pretty much puts us, that's how window dressing tends to go. You know what I mean? End of month, they don't really want to move those prices for the last couple of days, and when you got a Fed meeting in there, that certainly doesn't help. But the minute we shook free of that, got a gap up, and it was just drifting action Thursday and Friday. Even though the volume was back, it wasn't really as spectacular from any perspective. Now, keep in mind, we are well past earnings seasons. We are past the Fed announcement. We are past the first look at GDP. We are into August, which historically is one of the most positive months of the year, even though it doesn't always have great volume. The way I like to look at it is a lot of time the professionals are gone, so they're not monkeying around and manipulating a lot of these stocks. So when you get nice, clean patterns, they tend to work better in August. It's typically a fairly straightforward, easy month for us from a trading perspective, so I'm definitely looking forward to trading the month of August. Let's take a look here at the economic data that's due out this week, and it is a very light week. Monday, ISM services, 30 minutes into the market. Tuesday, trade balance, that's an important one, could cause a gap on Tuesday. Wednesday, not much early, and consumer credit in the afternoon does not matter. Initial and continuing jobless claims is a weekly number on Thursday. You've got the crude oil inventories Wednesday and the natty gas inventories on Thursday. Friday, wholesale inventories. So the big number for the week is trade balance. That's where we'll focus. You know, a straightforward trading week tends to look like this. Monday is the retail hour. The big guys tend to stay out of it, so it might be a little bit slower. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the institutional days. Friday, still in the summer for most people, tends to be light. No economic data of real importance except for that trade balance number. So I'm guessing that's the type of week we're going to look at for more action Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Probably Tuesday in particular to kick it off with that number. And we'll see how this looks. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if we can find some nice patterns that we can just sort of let play out. No reason to overtrade in the summer lighter volume environment, but certainly a lot of these stocks can move and just keep going when there's not short sellers and people gaming the system out there playing against them. So we will be in the lab all week as usual. We are using a new software piece for our trading lab. It does allow you to log in from certain phones and mobile devices, so you can take us with you wherever you go and listen to us throughout the day, and also see our charts and everything in the room. So if you haven't had a chance, please check out the lab when you get a chance, and we'll have a great trading week. Hope you do too.